5 tiny changes that can make you more productive. Wish you were more productive? Want to stop procrastinating and putting off the things you really need and want to be doing? Join the queue. The good news, though, is that by making very small changes to your routine and workflow, you can actually have a profound impact on your overall productivity. Listen up, and let's go through 5 tiny changes that will do just that. 1. Start tomorrow's work. Before you clock off for the day, make a start on tomorrow's work. Starting a new job first thing in the morning is extremely hard. If you've already made a start, on the other hand, it's much easier to dive back into the flow. 2. Make tea and coffee your reward. Many of us waste a surprisingly amount of time on trips to the kitchen. Instead of doing that, make a new rule that you can only enjoy a hot drink once you've answered all your emails, written X amount of words, or completed another goal of your choosing. You'll spend far less time hanging around waiting for the hot water to boil, and you'll be motivated to work faster. 3. Start on the task you most want to do. The hardest part of work is starting to be productive. If your first job is something you hate doing, you'll find yourself putting it off and not being productive. Swap that for something you do want to do, and at least you'll find it easier to get stuck in. 4. Listen to the same tune. Find a piece of music you know extremely well, such as an album, and then play it on repeat while listening to noise-canceling headphones. This is a trick used by Matt Mullenweg of WordPress fame. You'll find that your brain tunes out the music because it knows it so well, effectively creating a form of sensory deprivation. 5. Just start. If it's a blank page that greets you at work and you need to type, code, or enter data, then you might suffer from some form of writer's block. The key to getting over this is to just start writing. You can also go back and perfect it later. But the most important thing is to start doing something. Making these tiny changes to your routine and workflow will collectively make you much more productive. That's what they call Kaizen in Japan. Five tiny changes that will make you happier. Is happiness something you are either blessed with or not? Or is it something you can work toward like abs? The good news is that in most cases, happiness falls into the latter category. By changing the world around you and your reactions to it, you can become much more content and happy on a daily basis. The key is to start with small changes that are easy to implement. This is what we call Kaizen. 1. Write down 3 things. Start and end your day by writing down 3 things that you are grateful for. This helps to cultivate a gratitude attitude and helps draw our attention to what is good in our life rather than what we are dissatisfied with. 2. Find one way to treat yourself. Even for 10 minutes, find a way to treat yourself. That might mean reading a bit of your book, or it might mean eating something you're excited for. Ideally, pick something that won't cost you anything. Instead of buying a book then, you might find one you already have but haven't read. This has the added bonus of reminding us we already have a lot of things we want and need. 3. Compliment a friend or relative. We often feel better when we do things for other people, and this can be profoundly impactful to our mood for hours to come. While you probably don't have the time or budget to dedicate your life to charity, what you can do is to send a friend a message letting them know you're thinking of them, or to drop a compliment into a conversation with someone. Watch their reaction, it's highly rewarding. 4. Place a picture of your family by the bed and put the TV on in the morning. Reportedly, humans evolved living in small tribes, and that is the setup that makes us psychologically happiest. Most of us are very isolated today, which actually leads to feelings of loneliness and sadness. 5. Smile. Smiling more is something that can make you happier through a psychological process called facial feedback. In short, our mood changes to match our expression. Smile more, and you'll also make those around you happier. This in turn means they'll react to you better, which means you'll have more positive interactions. Next time you're at a cashier, try giving a big warm smile to the attendant. It's small and free, but it makes a big difference for them and you. Do this for just 1 minute a day and your life will change. 1 minute can change your life. Don't believe me? Then you probably haven't heard of Kaizen. This is the very trendy concept of applying minute changes to a workflow or even your life in order to enact a massive, cumulative change. Normally, that means looking at parts of your routine that you can improve, ways to save tiny bits of cash, or ways you can save a little time at work. The result here being that after several months of this, you end up much richer with much more time. But 1 minute? Can even the cumulative effects of 1 minute of effort really do anything for you? In this presentation, you'll see that it can. Here are 4 1-minute habits that can totally transform your life. 1. Make your bed. This small thing starts your day on a positive and productive note and gives you a clean room to come home to. It's ideal for training yourself to adapt good habits. 2. Talk to a stranger. Who knows what you could learn from a random person in 1 minute if you strike up a conversation? Moreover, practicing talking to strangers will make you more social, charismatic, and persuasive. And that's a game changer. 3. Run. Yes, running for 1 minute actually has been shown to have major health benefits. You're not going to lose a ton of weight, but it will strengthen your bones through minor impacts, which in turn can prevent age-related decline. 4. Write down 3 things you're grateful for. Many of us have so much to appreciate in life, from our physical possessions to our loved ones to our health. Yet we spend so long just longing for the things we don't have. So write down 3 things you're grateful for every day. This will redirect your attention to those things, such that you feel happier and more content all day long. 5. Breath training. Get yourself a breathing trainer and breathe into it for 1 minute a day. This will strengthen the intercostal muscles that you use to control your lungs and will essentially make you more efficient at breathing. The result? You'll have stronger lungs for cardio, more oxygen will reach your brain, and you'll sleep better. Those are huge benefits for just 1 minute of barely noticeable exercise. So then, it turns out that 1 minute really can change your life. Imagine what you could do with 5. How to apply Kaizen in your relationships. If you have any interest in productivity, project management, or self-improvement, then chances are you will have heard of Kaizen. Kaizen is the Japanese concept of gradual improvement. It means taking lots of very small steps toward a goal that will have a cumulative snowball effect over time. Eventually, those tiny differences add up to something extremely meaningful. But while Kaizen is popular in the business and self-development world, it also has applications outside of those areas. For example, you might just be able to use Kaizen in your relationships to become happier and more satisfied than ever before. Kaizen for couples. Relationships are hard. As much as Hollywood might try to tell us otherwise, relationships do not work out immediately. Rather, we need to work at them and constantly improve them with time. Likewise, we need to stick with them when things are not going perfectly and fight through those bad patches. This is not a mark of a bad relationship. In fact, it is a very healthy relationship that is able to acknowledge its shortcomings and work on them. That's where Kaizen comes in. Take an honest appraisal of your relationship with your partner in a judgment-free way. Ask what is going well and what could be better. Perhaps you don't get enough time together. Maybe you feel you aren't having enough sex. Or maybe you feel that one of you does more chores than the other. Maybe you aren't doing enough new, interesting things together. You'll then apply Kaizen by looking at each of these points and the circumstances surrounding them. You'll ask, how can you act to make that thing better? What small change can you make to your routine that will inject some more novelty or give you a bit more time together? For example, you might make the rule that 1 night a week you don't watch any television. Or perhaps you agree that you will cook together instead of taking it in turns. If the romance has gone, then you might both make a pact to spend a little longer looking your best for each other in the morning. These are very small changes, but over time, they can add up to make an immense difference. And the rewards you can reap here are gigantic. There's benefits to applying a little Kaizen to any area of your life. How to break a bad habit in 3 easy steps. Building a better you is not just about introducing new positive habits. Just as important is to remove the bad habits that are wasting your time, damaging your health, or losing you money. The only problem is that habits are hard to break. That's why they're habits. The good news is that there are ways you can break bad habits if you know how. In this presentation, we'll look at 3 simple steps that can help you bust those bad habits for good. 1. Change your environment. One of the most important things to do if you want to break a bad habit is to change your environment. That means you should remove yourself from your usual location. The reason is that your environment will be filled with reminders and triggers that will make you more likely to engage in the negative behavior. That is why many people trying to recover from addiction will go into rehab. There, nothing will remind them of their old life and behavior. Of course, you can come back again when you're done. Trying to quit smoking? Wait until you're going on holiday and you will have the best luck. 2. Find new habits. One of the very most important things to do if you want to break a bad habit is to replace it with something new. Otherwise, you will still be continuously reaching for that cigarette or looking for that cake. You need a new way to get your dopamine hit. Of course, it's entirely up to you what your new habit should be, but make sure it gives you a similar feeling and that it's something you really want to do, such that the urge is able to win over the habit with a little help from you. 3. Take it day by day. Kaizen is the Japanese concept of gradual improvement. This idea applies nicely to kicking habits, because it tells us that instead of trying to go cold turkey on day 1, we should instead gradually seek to improve our condition. For instance then, instead of quitting smoking entirely, you might just smoke 1 less cigarette daily. Likewise, instead of trying to end procrastination altogether, you might set a timer and try and keep it to no more than 10 minutes. This helps you introduce an easier version of the habit you eventually tend to form, which allows you to lay down and strengthen the neural pathways you are going to need. How to create new habits in 3 easy steps. Forming new habits can change your life. After all, we are simply summations of the things we do repeatedly. Forming those habits is the hard part, however, which is why it's useful to know some simple steps you can take to ensure that you keep doing the things you want to do. Reminders and notes. There are many different apps and devices that can greatly help you with note-taking and organization. Great examples include Todoist and Google Assistant. Here you can write down notes and reminders that will help you to do everything from taking pills to taking the trash out. This might sound like a small thing, but in fact it can completely change your life for the better as you become more organized and more on top of your daily tasks. By ensuring you get reminded, you can avoid forgetting to follow through with your habit. This makes a huge difference, particularly at the start, when you're still trying to ensure that new behavior becomes ingrained. If you don't want to rely on technology or written notes, then try using physical prompts. To remind yourself to floss, for example, you could leave the floss in the sink. That way you'll see it whenever you go to wash your hands. Tiny habits. Another thing to consider is that a small habit is far easier to stick to than a large habit. That is why the concept of the tiny habit is so popular. This means, for example, that you will aim to only floss 1 tooth. That might sound ridiculous, but the idea is that the simple act of flossing becomes normal this way, such that you can gradually increase the amount. From a neuroscience point of view, it actually makes a lot of sense. Other examples might include washing just 2 plates or doing 20 press-ups. 66 days. Now you're being reminded to engage in what is ostensibly a very short and easy task on a daily basis. Over time, this behavior should become more and more automatic. How long do you need to keep it up? The old myth is that it takes 30 days to form a new habit, but in fact, more recent research suggests that it is closer to 66 days for most people. Either way, if you can keep up this new habit for a set amount of time, it will give you something to aim for, and 66 days is as good a target as any. How to get rich by saving tiny bits of money. Kaizen is an approach to business and self-improvement that involves making small changes over a long period of time that will ultimately add up to having a large impact. This makes a lot of sense when it comes to saving money. Saving just a little money every day can potentially add up to make a big impact on your life. In this presentation, we'll look at some examples. Be more efficient. Energy efficiency is very popular at the moment due to the recent publicity for global warming. However, it's not just the planet you'll be saving, but your hard-earned cash too. Look into using up less water when you run the bath, less energy when you use your lights or boil the kettle, and in general, less on all of your bills. The good news is that there are lots of ways you can do this, from buying more efficient machines to finding ways to keep your home warmer and to use less water. Travel smart. We spend a lot of money traveling, and often that money is spent unnecessarily. There are many ways you can cut down on these regular expenses, however, from choosing to cycle or walk places to going in groups on a coach so that you can split the cost to using less petrol when you drive. Sell stuff. Look around your home at all the things that you have that you haven't used for months or even years. Ornaments in boxes, old DVDs, old CDs, and the chances are that most of this stuff you won't use again for months or years either. So sell some. Okay, it's not really saving money, it's making it. But if you think of this as making back some of your daily expenses, then it's really a good way to improve your ratio and keep your bank balance happy. Save your change. People waste so much change, it's unreal. And if you kept all of it in a little pot of some sort, then at the end of the month or whenever, you'd probably be very surprised to see just how much you'd held on to. Use coupons. Coupons are a fantastic way to get the same things, but for less money. And there are all kinds of things you can get coupons for if you go to the right site. Then, of course, there are other cheaper alternatives to buying normally, such as getting things on offer, buying used, etc. Make a budget. Having a budget works wonders for your overall finances because it ensures you're able to stick to a specific amount of cash each day, which will help you to then know precisely how much cash you'll have at the end of each month. Surprisingly, just having a budget will help you to save money, and especially if you keep track of your spending too. The key then is to automatically transfer all these little savings into a savings account every month, and keep assessing your budget and looking at more areas where you can save a little more without impacting on your quality of life. Small things you should stop doing right now. Kaizen is the process of continual improvement. It means doing lots of small things that take little time or effort, so that they will eventually add up to have huge benefits over time. A simple example is saving $1 a day, so that you save $365 over the course of the year. But Kaizen isn't really the same thing as the tiny habits movement that is also popular right now. It's actually about becoming more efficient through tiny tweaks of your workflow and processes. That means it also includes things you should stop doing. Here are some tiny things that you should stop doing right now, which will have huge benefits to your happiness, health, productivity, and more. Listening? Great. Stop obsessing over negative thoughts. Find yourself replaying negative things that have happened during the day that you can do nothing about. Then just remind yourself next time to change tune and think about something else. Not only is this a waste of time, but it puts you in a negative headspace. Stop getting coffee and tea repeatedly. There's nothing wrong with tea and coffee. The problem is when you use getting tea and coffee as an excuse not to do any actual work. Keep an eye on how many trips to the kettle you're making. Stop apologizing. If you're one of those people constantly apologizing for everything, then this is the habit to cut out. Apologizing makes you appear guilty and actually makes other people feel resentful in many cases. Learn to cut this habit out. Stop getting on your phone every 2 minutes. If you get your phone out every time you go to the bathroom, every time you're in a queue, and any time you wait for your computer to load, that's something to fix. Try switching to a black and white screen, and you'll find yourself instinctively get it out less. Stop watching junk TV. It's actually not harmless. It puts you in an unproductive, uncreative headspace. Watch something stimulating and interesting, and you'll feel much better. Stop spending money on unnecessary subscriptions. If you haven't watched Netflix in the last month, then you can get rid of it. There are other ways to enjoy an evening if you're ever stuck. And the same goes for that gym membership you never use. You'll save a lot of money, and it takes 2 minutes or less. The Kaizen approach to dieting. Kaizen is the Japanese concept of improvement that preaches that we should make small, almost imperceptible changes to our routines and lifestyles if we want to see big improvements over time. The good news is that this is easy to do when it comes to losing weight. It just means looking for small opportunities to cut calories that you'll hardly notice, but which can add up to a big collective difference. In this presentation, we'll share some powerful examples. Butter. Butter is essentially just lard. That's right, pure fat that you willingly spread onto your food in order to increase moisture. Unsurprisingly, it's also not terribly good for you. So if you're searching for a way to dramatically decrease fat in your diet, you can do so by just avoiding butter, as well as margarine and everything else on your toast. After a while, you get used to eating ham on your bread dry, or having spreads instead like tuna paste. Oil. Likewise, you should keep oil away from your frying pan, and you should definitely keep oil away. While oil can prevent sticking, the reality is that if you heat the pan up slowly and use a little water, there is more than enough oil in your meat and moisture in your sauce to do this job for you. Sugar. If you can avoid adding sugar to any of your foods, whether it's a cup of tea or a bowl of fruit, then you'll find this completely changes your whole diet. Not only is that a huge amount of carbs now removed from what you eat, but it's also a great way to start getting used to blander tastes and remove your sweet tooth. Desserts in restaurants. Having meals out from time to time isn't all that bad, but the insanely indulgent desserts most places serve up are. You can avoid this occasional problem by asking for a cup of coffee or latte when everyone else has cake. You'll feel much better for it, but the coffee and the usual free chocolate will help you to avoid feeling left out or unsociable for not joining in. Soda drinks. If you drink Coca-Cola or Pepsi, then you're doing untold damage to your teeth and your weight, consuming the equivalent of 2 Cadbury's cream eggs in sugar. Don't think that sugar-free versions get a pass either. They trigger an insulin reaction that can leave you craving sugar. Avoid soda drinks altogether then, and instead drink water, milk, and fruit juice. You've been writing goals all wrong. Here's what you need to know. Writing goals is very important if you want to make yourself a success. You see, in order to be a success, you need to know what it is you want to be a success in, and you need to define that success. You can be the fastest walker in the world, but you won't get very far if you don't know where you're heading. Even just the process of writing your goals brings you one step closer to achieving them, as it makes them real and physical by putting them on paper, rather than remaining hypothetical and just dreams. But how do you go about writing these goals and making ones that you are actually likely to stick to? In this presentation, we will look at the answers to those questions. Use software. Using goal-setting software or goal-setting worksheets is a good idea to help you formulate your goals, especially if you're struggling. Goal-setting software and goal-setting worksheets are created by people who know what they're talking about and how to go about writing goals. This therefore enables you to structure your goals in a way that is essentially tried and tested. Make sure you really want them. Before you start filling out goal-setting worksheets, though, you need to know the kind of thing you want to achieve and what your chosen field is going to be. In other words, you need to decide what your passion is that you intend to follow. This is very important, as sticking to a goal requires you to be highly focused and dedicated, and that means you have to really want it. Break it down. You need to break down your big, lofty, and ambitious goals into smaller steps, and ideally, break these all the way down into things that you can do on a regular basis. So for instance, this might mean that if you want to build a better physique, your most basic level goal would be to work out at least 5 times a week for 6 months. If you stick to this basic and easy to control goal, then you should find that the overall ambition takes care of itself, and that you end up getting what it is that you want. Start simple. Accept that working out at least 5 days a week is a very hard goal, even though it might not seem that way at first. Better then is to commit to working out just twice a week for 20 minutes. This is the Kaizen approach to continual improvement, and it has been proven effective in countless scenarios. Keep them on your mind. Finally, make sure that these goals are constantly on your mind and constantly in front of you. One of the best ways to do this is to simply have them written somewhere that you'll be able to see them, or several places you'll be able to see them and where you'll encounter them regularly. Get a Post-it note and stick it to your desk.
Have you ever wondered whether finding meaning in life is actually important, or is it just something made up by people? Maybe you get the sense that you should be further along in life, yet experience an overwhelming sense that you'll never get anywhere from where you are now. If you've ever wondered whether personal development works, it does. To lead a content and successful life, it's imperative to find meaning in your life. This is something that distinguishes you from others. The meaning you find in your life may not be the same as those around you, but that's fine. Your distinct meaning is what sets you apart. Once you find the meaning in your life, you can become the best of your being. In addition to that, you'll be able to polish your personality. In this video, we'll talk about what life purpose is. Most people have no idea what they'd like to pursue or do with their lives. This is not just high school graduates full of aspiring, wonderful dreams. In fact, it's most adults, even after finishing school, getting a job, and making steady money. There's still room for clearly defining what their life purpose is. In fact, it's a conflict that often begins in adult life. Seemingly simple questions like, what do I want to do with my life? What am I passionate about? And how can I make my life better? Are all questions that pop into adult minds looking for ways to identify what they would like to do with their lives. In other words, they still haven't been able to identify their life purpose. But is this really as complicated as it seems? Well, yes and no. To put it simply, everyone exists on Earth for an unspecified duration of time. People do different things during that time, with some being important and others not so much. Among these things, it's the important things which give life its meaning and sense of fulfillment. The unimportant ones are just a way to kill time. To make matters a little more complicated, ignorance towards their true selves is something that most people live with for a long time. They set up their lives based on others' expectations and norms, and in doing so may never be able to discover their true selves. Others who set out on the path to self-discovery find out that the journey is neither easy nor pleasant. In fact, there are plenty of hurdles along the way. When you set out to find your life purpose, it means that you hold yourself, your set of beliefs and values, and your likes and interests as top priority. You look for things that make you truly happy, or rather fulfilled. This also means that on the way, you're going to displease others, since you no longer want to live your life by their dictates. Yes, this journey can include confusion, conflict, some fear, quite a bit of misunderstanding, and a lot of doubt along the way. And last but not least, it also involves revisiting many choices you've made in life earlier. Think of it as spring cleaning of the mind that will ultimately lead to your life's true purpose. So, what is life purpose, really? Life purpose is a lot of things, but foremost, it's the first step to living your life the most conscious way. Here's one way to look at it. You may be very busy with a lot of chores and tasks every day. But if you don't have a purpose intended for those tasks, then every effort you make will mean very little in the end. So basically, the goal in the end may have nothing to do with your purpose. This means that you could pursue your current goals for the next so many years and then come to realize that this wasn't what you wanted in the first place. On the contrary, if you have a life purpose, then that's how you learn to lead a conscious life. Your efforts get directed towards something and you enjoy every minute of it. And although this doesn't imply that your problems disappear, at least now you know why you're trying to find a way around those problems. You also know that you've discovered your life purpose when you feel energized in all your endeavors. You no longer dread the daily grind, but are eager to get your day started and get as much done as you possibly can. How do you measure life purpose? There can be a few determinants in this regard. For starters, there's making sacrifices. Achieving anything that's worth achieving involves sacrifices. Everything comes at a cost, and very few things are uplifting or pleasurable all the time. The question that arises here is, what sacrifice or struggle are you ready to make or tolerate? If you find yourself giving in at the slightest chance of pressure, then obviously this choice isn't your life purpose. But if you're willing to ride through the rough patches and stick with it no matter what, then you may be onto something. This is because what ultimately determines your ability to commit to something shows how much you care about that thing and how much it means to you. For instance, if you wish to become a successful entrepreneur, but aren't good at handling failure, you won't get far. Or say your dream is to become a professional artist and don't like to see your work criticized or rejected, then there's not much scope for you out there. But if the same purposes keep you going despite unpleasant experiences, staying awake long nights or riding out the bad days, then you may have discovered what you're really cut out for. You can also determine if you found your life purpose if you find sheer joy in doing something now that you also enjoyed doing as a child. Say you enjoyed writing as a child and only rediscovered the same joy of writing later on in life. A lot of times people tend to lose touch with what they loved when they were younger. Oftentimes, it has a lot to do with the social pressures of adolescence or the professional pressure of young adulthood, which wrings the passion right out of them. Instead, what remains behind is the lesson that the only reason to do anything is if there's a tangible reward for it. But if you can look beyond the physical reward for something and learn to enjoy the experience instead, it could be your true calling. Interestingly enough, vulnerability can also often point you in the direction of your real passion. If you're passionate about something, then you risk making mistakes to improve yourself. Making mistakes leads to embarrassment, and if becoming embarrassed stops you from doing something that you really want to do, then you should rethink your life purpose. Your real life purpose won't let you care about getting embarrassed. It won't concern itself with what others think of you, but urge you to pursue it instead. When people feel like they've got no sense of direction or any purpose in life, it's because they don't know what's important to them. And when you don't know what's important to you, then you're just taking on other people's values and following their priorities instead of your own. And this is exactly what this video aims to correct, so that you can live your own life based on what's important to you and not what others think is good for you. In this video, we'll learn about the importance of finding meaning in life. Let's revisit the idea of a conscious life once more. If you find meaning in your life, you'll be able to learn your purpose in this world. Experts believe that you can live your life in two ways. The first says that if you're conscious, you'll live along the same lines as others, yet you'll experience the same things differently. The second way to live is to live unconsciously. Broadly speaking, if you live like that, life will just happen to you. Think of it as a giant wave that keeps pushing you forward. You have no control over where you're going or why you're going there. In fact, the only thing certain about this situation is that you're just going with the flow. This kind of life isn't exactly ideal since you don't have much say in it, yet many of us live this way. When you learn the meaning of life, you have a better sense of your purpose. You tend to understand why you're in this world. Just like that, you will have a clearer view of how you can contribute to the world. If you don't know your purpose, you'll hate getting out of bed. Your motivation to last through the week would be looking forward to the weekend. Put you in a challenging situation and you'll feel burnt out before you even tried anything worth trying. On the other hand, if you lead a meaningful life, you'll love the grind. Here are some tips on why it's important to find the meaning in life. 1. Gives clarity and focus. Look around yourself. You'll see so many people running after a host of popular things. Common offenders include earning more money, getting a house, then getting an even bigger house. Goals also include getting a car, the latest technology, and everything along those lines. Incidentally, all these are also material gains and rewards. And while they may seem very important to you right now, do they really matter that much in the long run? How about looking for something that you're passionate about instead? Something that you thoroughly enjoy doing, something that brings out the best in you. It isn't uncommon that while running after money and luxuries, you become sidetracked from your real purpose. Finding your life purpose will help you become aware of the things that are important. Once you learn to look past these common needs, you'll see what's important. It'll help you set your goals and eliminate unimportant things from your life. If you keep pursuing things you don't need, knowingly or unknowingly, you'll end up nowhere. By distinguishing between the important and unimportant, you won't feel lost and unaccomplished in 20 years' time. You can also achieve success by finding the meaning in your life. Remember this one thing: your success will be different from others. For you, success might be becoming the next Newton. For someone else, it might be owning the latest Audi. But worry not. This is exactly what meaning brings in your life: uniqueness and contentment. Every day you have to become a better version of yourself. You have to get up and conquer the world. To achieve, succeed, or excel, you have to first find the meaning in your life. 2, teaches what defines you. Have you ever felt that external factors are defining who you are? That you're being told what works for you instead of you figuring it out for yourself? Why does this happen? Probably because you don't have a life purpose or haven't figured it out yet. When you lead a meaningless life, society starts to define you, and the people around you shape you. If you keep living by others' definitions of you, you'll find yourself in unfulfilling jobs and situations. Being human, we all need a means of sustenance. However, you may be stuck in a job that you hate. You needed a job, so you got whatever was out there. The only reason you may have landed this job is because someone else recommended you for the position. The result is that you end up going to your workplace tired and bored, surrounded by people you have nothing in common with, all because you had no direction in life. You just needed a job. But as soon as you find some life purpose, you can work towards a career that better fits your purpose. If you're leading a meaningful life, your means and sustenance can also become your passion. You can find yourself in a workplace that you enjoy and coworkers who are compatible with you. Once you have a meaning and a purpose, you'll clearly see the people you need. In addition, you'll also be able to cut out the people who are toxic. It's important to find compatibility in people and surround yourself with those who support your meaning. Being around like-minded individuals who can help you become your best self can add even more to your life purpose. 3, keeps you connected with the present. The more you engage in a purposeful life, the more it grows with you. At the same time, it also makes you happier. Remember how we talked about the important versus the unimportant? Well, a purposeful life will no doubt be very different from the pleasurable, unimportant life that is transient, current, and illusory. In contrast, a meaningful life can become demanding and quite often a stressful one. More than worldly goods and luxuries, it requires planning, patience, ownership of actions, and the responsibility and the consequences of choices made. It's definitely not as accommodating as a pleasurable life because purpose requires you to be patient, delay gratification, and think for the long term. When you do all of this, it keeps you connected to the present. What this means is that you learn to live the best you can in the present. Your purpose keeps you grounded to your present rather than postponing it into the future. Say you're working on a book and need to get it done by a specific time. Now, you also have a family, kids, and other responsibilities to see. Your purpose in this case is to get the book written. So despite other commitments, you make your best effort to give time to your book. At the end of the day, you'll know that you were able to squeeze time for what you love to do and fulfill your purpose, even though in a small way. It's one small step forwards towards completing a project which means something to you. A connection to the present also helps you stay focused, passionate, and gratified with what you have. Focused because you know how to stay away from distractions. Passionate because it urges you on to reach your full potential. And gratified because you're living a value-based life. In this video, we'll talk about why it's hard to find a purpose in life. When you think about it, it seems easy enough to find yourself. However, once you put this thought into action, things can quickly become hard. When you're looking for meaning or purpose in life, there are many obstacles that you face. This seemingly easy task can take quite a while for it to sort out. Here are some common issues that may be preventing you from discovering your life purpose. Societal influence. It's quite possible that you've already adopted the ways of society. Our society has certain standards through which we judge people, and it's due to these standards why some people are popular and others are not. Perhaps societal influence is most impressionable in young adults. For example, if you're a high school student, you would see these factors around you. When you see that being a football player makes you popular, that's what you may want to be. Or you may want to be a cheerleader since they seem to be equally popular. Once you see this, you strive for the purpose that has been set by people around you. All this might not appeal to you, or it may not be your calling. However, you give in to the influence and ignore your route to self-discovery. Say your purpose in life might be to be the next Steve Jobs. However, in an attempt to be as cool as the football player, you lose yourself behind. And societal influence doesn't end there. In fact, for many, it goes on beyond their adolescent years and pursues them even in their advanced years, always preventing them from finding their true calling. Low self-esteem, self-worth. This one is a real dilemma. How do you expect to love yourself if you've never been loved by others, or you've never been told what you're worthy of? For many people, the road to self-discovery can be tough without self-love. If you've been criticized by everyone around you all your life, it can be hard for you to love yourself. It's possible that you've never been appreciated in your life for what you are. People around you may have always told you that someone else was better than you. For instance, your parents may have always compared you with your cousins, friends, or other peers. Your teachers may have told you how everyone else in the class was better than you. Or your boss has been quick to criticize your flaws, but shown little or no appreciation for your work. This negative feedback can really stop you from being true to yourself. In fact, it becomes harder to find your purpose until you love yourself unconditionally. Quite simply, how else will you learn about the things you care about or things that matter to you? To find your purpose, you have to give time to yourself. If you don't consider yourself worthy of your own time and attention, you're in a bad place. Because of all these factors, self-love becomes an impossible task. You constantly criticize your own self by comparing yourself to others. And in addition to that, you don't think that you're good at anything. Lack of freedom to dream. Not everyone gets to follow their dreams, and it becomes one of the greatest factors stopping you from finding your purpose. Your purpose might lie in something that is considered unrealistic by others. Let's say you want to be a photographer, yet everyone keeps telling you that that isn't a very economic decision. They asked you how you'd feed your family. They also remind you of the increasing expenses and how your passion isn't going to be compatible with your finances. Even your parents have better options decided for you. They tell you that there are other jobs that will get you the money. If you want to do something unconventional, they tell you how there is no scope for it. With this constant discouragement to follow your dreams, you can't ever discover yourself. You will lose the will to find what you were born to do. Then there are certain things that you're required to do by a certain age. You're expected to get a degree by a certain age and then settle down. It all comes down to the societal norms once again. In a race to get a degree and start a career, you forget to listen to your calling. Your calling is the true you. It's something that makes you. Once you respond to that, you will find your purpose. But if you're not given a chance to even think about following your dreams, how can you achieve them? Fear of the dark side. Everyone has a dark side. People who come to terms with their dark side are the most successful ones. You can ignore this side of yours, but you can't make it go away. Until you address it, this side will always remain. As long as it's present, this side hinders you from discovering your purpose. The reason why you don't find your purpose is because you're scared to get in touch with this side, and you don't want others to see it either. You think that if you keep hiding it, it will stop existing, but this isn't true. Your dark side is a portrait of your deficiencies. It represents your flaws and your failures. It encompasses the selfish and wrong desires that you have. When you're on a journey of self-discovery, you'll have to encounter this side. Yet, the fear of this side keeps you from trying to find your purpose. You fail to understand that this side can help you excel. Once you enlighten this side of yours, you can be your best self. The problem is that you do not want those around you to see that you have this side. It's your little secret. You're even afraid to see it yourself. How can you, a responsible father, have any selfish desire? How can you, a hardworking student, fail at being an honest person? You're too scared to face these questions. Yet it all makes sense. You find solace in looking at the bright side of yourself. This is where your comfort zone lies. It's this side that makes you feel good about yourself. Despite this side will never help you find your ultimate purpose. Another aspect of this dark side is a fear of questions you don't have answers to. It's easy and comfortable to be faced with questions that you have answers to, but it's natural to feel hesitant facing questions you can't answer. On the road to self-discovery, there's a lot of questions you can't always answer. The thought of facing these questions scares you, and that's why you try to avoid them. You become accustomed to easy knowledge that you have for yourself, and because of this, you don't want to be in an ambiguous situation. How can I not know this about myself? This is what stops you from finding your purpose. So, if you somehow manage to cross all these obstacles, you can find your purpose. It's just a constant battle with yourself and your deepest fears. If you win it, you're golden. In this video, we'll talk about happiness versus fulfillment. Happiness is a code that all humans have. It's deemed essential, and everyone seems to believe it. In fact, it's gained a religion-like reverence that everyone follows. But happiness is something that is relatively subjective. It can be big, small, long-term, or short-term. And since it's more of a general term, everyone can relate to it. Some common things that make everyone happy are family, career, a good job, and money. Fulfillment, on the other hand, is something more personal. It's yours. And as such, fulfillment for everyone is different. You can experience fulfillment when you pursue something you're passionate about, such as a goal or a dream. Perhaps you're all about helping others, such as volunteering, or maybe you're that person who engages in activities promoting continuous growth and learning. If you compare the two, you'll notice that fulfillment has a much deeper and longer lasting effect than happiness. Fulfillment is what you need to strive for. Why? Here's why. Fulfillment is unique to you. The foremost reason why you should opt for fulfillment is that it's something unique to you. It's something that sets you apart from others around you. Maybe eating right and exercising is what fulfills you, as you know you're doing something right to improve your overall health. Your friend, on the other hand, may find workouts not so fulfilling, as better health may not be what they are looking for. To them, your workout sessions together may just be a drag. So while happiness is something that everyone feels the same way about, fulfillment will give you a unique sense of being and purpose. In fact, unlike happiness, which is strictly a feeling, fulfillment is something that you attain by investing time and effort. It's a feeling of hard work and dedication that leads to the accomplishment of your goals. In its own way, fulfillment makes you a complete person. In terms of their time spans, happiness is a fleeting, short-term sensation, while fulfillment is eternal. Being short-term, happiness isn't realistically sustainable. After all, how many people do you know who are actually happy all the time? Probably not that many. But when you compare it to fulfillment, you may know quite a few who are very, very content with what they have achieved. This is because the idea of fulfillment makes it okay to not be happy all the time. It tells you that things will be okay even if you're going through a rough patch. Fulfillment gets etched in your brain and remains with you for a very long time. For example, you do something such as blogging, which gives you a feeling of fulfillment. If being a lifestyle blogger makes you feel fulfilled, you'll invest all your creativity and energy into being one. On the way, you'll surely have some bad days. Everyone does. Yet, you'll always have the contentment in your heart that you are doing something purposeful. With happiness, you never know how long you're going to be happy for. If you're happy now, you could hear some upsetting news making happiness dissipate quickly. Happiness is not as personal, since anything can take it away from you in a matter of seconds. Opposed to that, fulfillment is not affected by incidents, feelings, or people. It belongs to you. It is yours, and you can keep it for as long as you want. Nothing and no one can steal your sense of fulfillment from you. Fulfillment gives meaning to success. Being happy with your success is great. However, this feeling will eventually go away. You might have won an Oscar and felt like you're on top of the world at that moment. However, if it's not something that fulfills you, that award is just a miniature statue in your home. On the contrary, if something makes you feel fulfilled, it gives you joy every day. Happiness is simply not sustainable. Fulfillment is. This is why that's what you should aim for. In addition, if you aim towards fulfillment, you're bound to work hard. If all you want to do is be happy, you don't need to do much. Even being with your favorite person can make you happy. Just like that, listening to any song can make you happy. If you're a foodie, a donut can brighten up your day. Sometimes happiness can make you lazy too. Hanging out with someone you like will make you happy. However, it will distract you from the things that you're supposed to do. When you strive for fulfillment, you will get things done on time. You will suddenly get an urge to get things done. At the end of the day, when everything is done, you'll feel complete. You'll be content knowing that you made something out of your day. Staying in your comfort zone makes you happy, but it won't take you anywhere. To be happy, you can take shortcuts, but you can't do that with fulfillment. This is why you will go the extra mile to be fulfilled. Plus, if you're doing something that fulfills you, you'll also be more willing to try new things. You'll think of all the ways you can get better at it. Suppose your job is fulfilling for you. Now you won't dread the weekdays. You may even think of your work even during the weekends. This probably explains really well why some people are always immersed in their work. It happens when you find fulfillment in your work. It makes you content and your life peaceful. Happiness is just one feeling. Happiness is a single feeling. Think of it like a rainbow. It's just one color. On the other hand, fulfillment is made up of so many colors. It's made up of passion, drive, emotion, grief, failure. You don't have to go through all of that to feel fulfilled. This is what makes fulfillment so special. There's nothing wrong with looking for happiness, but do you want to miss all the colors of the rainbow for just one color? There are times when you're not exactly happy, but you're fulfilled. For example, if you're working long hours as a doctor, you may not be happy. You may have seen some painful cases throughout the day. You may have even cried when your procedure doesn't go as planned. It could be a day filled with grief, misery, and hard work. Yet at the end of the day, you feel peace at heart. This is because you feel fulfilled. You know that you did something which completes you. It's your purpose in this world, and you do it religiously. For most, this feeling is enough to keep them going. Even when you may not be happy, the feeling of fulfillment drives you on. When you're fulfilled, you always look for ways to get better. You must remember that happiness is an important element in life too. However, it is not as bright a star as fulfillment is. In this video, we'll talk about steering clear of false purpose. If you look around you, you'll see that most people follow the same dream. So much so that they all seem to have the same purpose. The most common example of this is how everyone believes their purpose in life is to earn money. In addition to that, starting a family also accompanies this desire to acquire wealth. This will sound very familiar to most people, only because these are the words of your parents, teachers, and friends. You've always heard people talk about these basic things. They're repeated so often that it seems like these things are the sole purpose of humanity. But do you ever think about what role you had in determining these purposes for yourself? Were you ever consulted in establishing these goals, or are they mere echoes of others telling you what your goals should be? Chances are that somewhere along the line, others did the deciding and determining for you. Your elders, mentors, coaches, and teachers took it upon themselves to decide for you without including you in the decision-making process. So what you thought was a choice was nothing more than suggestions or conditioned messages letting you believe that you were the one making the choices. Yet, at best, they were instructions that you were asked to follow to determine the course of your life. But if you think about it, then something just doesn't add up, as these are purposes imposed on you by others. It can be very easy to believe that a false purpose is your actual purpose in life. You could be influenced by family, colleagues, and society. All these factors sometimes convince you that a certain purpose is your true one. However, in reality, it may not be so at all. Recognizing false purpose. The easiest way to recognize false purpose is that it's not your calling. Most often, it's something that has been imposed upon you by people. It could be a thought, an idea, or a suggestion, but it's not your thought or idea. Many life coaches talk about how finding your purpose isn't related to money or career. It's about finding your true self. This is the self that you've hidden underneath the needs of the people around you. It's quite true that you tend to hide your real purpose underneath people's needs. The society needs you to be a busy 9-to-5 person, so you hide the carefree artist inside you. Your parents need you to get a good degree, so you curb your desire to sing and dance for a living. Your family needs you to be there at all times, so you hide your desire to be a tour guide. It's due to all these reasons that you adopt a false purpose. Don't be fooled by this purpose. It doesn't come from within you. It's being fed to you by others. Suppose you're watching a movie with friends. You want to watch an adventure movie, but they're more inclined towards a comedy. You may resist for a while, but eventually will give in to their constant nagging. In the bigger picture, this is how people around you can manipulate you into believing that false purpose is your calling. Why you need to steer clear of false purpose. Now that you have an idea of what false purpose is, you need to steer clear of it. Your false purpose can destroy you. It can make you do things that you don't enjoy or find meaning in. At some point in life, maybe 10 years from now, you'll regret not only the purpose, but also the time you spent aiming for it. If you run after a false purpose, you realize it sooner or later. In the beginning, it may seem like you are doing things right. Then you look around you and comfort yourself by saying that everyone else is doing the same thing too. Yet, deep inside, you lack both contentment and happiness. Then you have an epiphany, a time when everything comes crashing down. You realize how you are just like others. You think to yourself, what have I done that they haven't? How am I different from them? How is my life more fulfilling than theirs? Did I spend my youth grinding and working to be just like others? If you steer clear of false purpose, only then do you find meaning in your life. To do so, you have to listen to yourself. What is your being saying to you? Don't listen to others around you. Don't listen to the guy telling you to be an engineer just because he knows someone who is successful as one. Your true purpose is something you want. It's something that you have thought for yourself. You're not expected to do it. You just want it. That's the beauty of a true person. You won't have to drag yourself to fulfill this purpose. Instead, you'll just get the energy for it naturally. Your passion will drive you to do your best. Also, when you steer clear of false purpose, you do everything fearlessly. When you're forced into a false purpose, it's often due to fear. The fear of your parents or the fear of being rejected by society. However, when you find your true purpose, you do it with love. There's no fear of letting anyone down. You know you're doing this for yourself. How can you steer clear of false purpose? If you want to steer clear of false purpose, you need to listen to yourself only. Ignore what everyone else has to say. Spend time with yourself and learn about yourself. You'll find what drives you. If you care enough for yourself, you'll find the things that excite you. The most important thing is not to be fearful. Don't fear failure, but be ready to face it. Don't fear rejection, but have the guts to face it. People might tell you that you have disappointed them, but it doesn't matter. You might be wondering, how do I know I am not pursuing a false purpose? The best way to find out is by seeing if what you're doing makes you feel fulfilled. If you're following your true purpose, you'll feel inspired by it every day. You'll find new things in it to love every day. On the other hand, a false purpose will show you its flaws very soon. To steer clear of this flawed purpose, you need to define your purpose. If you have defined your purpose well in advance, you won't have any regrets later. Defining your purpose will give you a clear indication about your next move. This will ensure that you aren't going towards the pursuit of false purpose. What matters is you and your ultimate fulfillment. Don't let anyone tell you that you disappointed them because you didn't go into medicine just like the rest of your family. If making music is your purpose, do that. Antoinette Foy says, "The core of your true self is never lost. Let go of all the pretending." The philosophy behind this concept is to let yourself in. Once you allow that to happen, you won't need to find yourself. Your true self will just appear in front of you. This is the ultimate way to find your true purpose. Just be yourself and do your thing. You're not everyone else around you, so don't even try to be them. In this video, we'll discover the importance of defining your life purpose. Finding your life's purpose can help you reach great heights. Before you find your purpose, you need to define it. It's only logical that you do everything in steps. Whenever you decide to do anything in life, you take a stepwise approach, from performing reactions in a lab to cooking. Everything needs to be done in steps. So it's quite logical to define your purpose before you set out to find it. Frederick Buckner once said, "Purpose is the place where your deep gladness meets the world's needs." Before you serve the world, you need to define this place. You can't get to this place until you have defined it first. Gives you direction. Defining your purpose gives you a definite direction. It directs you towards your ultimate goal in life. If you want to achieve something in life, you have to be clear about your purpose. The most successful people will tell you that you need to have a definite purpose to win. Plus, you must also have a strong desire to achieve this purpose. If you have no direction, you'll end up going around in circles. Think of it as a journey. If you're going to go somewhere, not only do you need directions, but you also need a destination to reach. But you'll never reach there if you don't have the directions. Similarly, if you have no definition, you can't get to your purpose. But when you define your purpose, you know exactly what you're aiming for. Defining your purpose is the best way to dig deep in yourself. You need to ask yourself, why are you doing something, or why you need to do it? But no one said it would be easy. When you first start the process, you're bound to be confused. There will be so many questions that you can't answer, and you'll face ambiguities about yourself. However, as soon as you define your purpose, all these doubts and confusions go away. You're able to see your goals clearly, and you will know how to reach those goals. People who are successful know what they want and why they want it. They have a sense of direction. Most importantly, they know what success means, and they're aware of why they need to be successful or lead a meaningful life. Once you define your purpose, anything you do will be in consistency with your goals. Every action of yours will get you closer to your aims and purpose. The first step is always to know why. Defining your purpose will help you filter out your actions. You'll be able to prioritize the things that you need to do. In the same way, you'll also learn about the things you need to cut out. 2. Keeps you from getting distracted. Defining your purpose also keeps you from getting distracted. When you're on a quest to find a purpose, you'll be sidetracked by a lot of things. To prevent this from happening, it's important to have a clear sense of where you're going. If you just wake up one day and decide to do something, you won't be very successful. On the contrary, planning and defining will get you wherever you want. If you have a well-defined purpose, you'll actually live life and not just survive. For example, you might believe that your purpose in life is to serve others. Unless you know how you can do it, you can't do it. You might get distracted by people around you. They may tell you that you can do so by being a doctor or a teacher. So if your purpose isn't defined, you get distracted by other people's suggestions, and you set upon a path that's not compatible with your calling. But if you define your purpose, you find the right path. You need to ask yourself important questions. Why you want to serve others? What drives you to do so? Why is it that this is your purpose and not something else? After answering all these questions, you'll have a better sense of your purpose. Just like that, you'll clearly see the path you need to take. When you've defined your purpose, you're not afraid to take risks. You're not afraid to do new things or unconventional things. This definition will set the principle for your journey. 3, keeps you organized. When your purpose is well defined, you remain organized. Instead of constantly thinking of what you need to do next, you already have a plan set out. But when you do not have a definition in your life, you're always busy thinking. The process of thought is time-consuming, and if you get stuck in this process, you can't hope to go beyond. To define your purpose, you'll have to give time to the thinking process. When you're done with it, you know exactly what needs to be done. You can enlist all the things that you need to do. If you've defined your purpose well, you can make a day-to-day plan. Some people are lucky in this regard as they have those aha moments which enlightens them. Others have to think for a while. Some may even have to look around for inspiration. As soon as you've found your inspiration and your definition, you can start your journey. Think of it as a car ride. To start the ride, you need a car first. Then you need to have a clear idea of where you're going and why you're going there. If you don't know these things, you'll never be able to start. But if your thoughts are well organized, you won't have any doubts or confusion. Nothing will be able to distract you. A. Milne explains this well when he says, organization is something you do before you do something. He further says that you do this so that everything doesn't get mixed up. This makes a lot of sense. If all your thoughts and plans are mixed up, you're in trouble. Define your purpose. Stick to a single plan, and you'll eventually find your purpose. 4, gives you time for experimentation. While you're defining your purpose, it gives you a chance to experiment. This is the time when you can explore yourself. When you're defining yourself, you'll be able to see your real self. If you simply set out to find your purpose, you might find something completely different along the way. It might be something that will completely change your purpose. Then all your previous effort will go to waste. Now consider this. If you've already done all the defining, exploring, and experimenting, you will be more certain. By experimenting, you learn about yourself. You see your passion, your interests, and your talents. When you define your purpose, you may find things that surprise you. Imagine yourself as a video game character. You have to read the instructions first or watch a tutorial video. Without that, you'll be completely lost. Just like that, you need to define your purpose. Look within to find your drive, your reason, and your calling. In this video, we'll learn how to find your purpose and passion. You may have all the prerequisites for happiness, including a job, a happy family, and a big house, but why is it that you don't feel fulfilled? If you constantly feel that something is missing, then the missing piece of the puzzle could be your purpose. At this stage, you need to sit down and reevaluate your life. Only by asking yourself and looking into yourself will you find the answers. No one knows you better than yourself. So it's you and only you who can find your purpose. Your job is to find this purpose and polish it well, because when you accomplish that, your life becomes so much more meaningful. 1, find what excites you. Most of the time, your purpose is what excites you. If your current job doesn't excite you, it's definitely not your passion. Do you have to drag yourself out of bed every day? Are you constantly looking at the clock during work? All of us are born with a talent. We all have something inside us that makes us different and special. You just need to find this thing. Just a little warning, you won't be perfect at it the first time. You can't really expect to be perfect at something, even if it's your talent. You have to learn it, earn it. Even the best artists and musicians have to practice and learn. But then how do you know what your talent is? It's something that comes easy to you. It could be drawing. If a pencil and paper excites you, then drawing might just be your purpose. If it's always been easier for you to draw than write, then look that way. Maybe you could draw straight lines and perfect circles without any tools, and your notes had more doodles than writing on them. Clues like these tell you where your real passion lies, and you shouldn't hesitate to answer that call. Here's something. Have you ever had that feeling when you do something for the first time, but feel like you already know how to do it? That's the feeling you need to look for. Steve Jobs had the best advice in this regard. He said that you have to trust in something in your life. It could be gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. He said that this approach can make a lot of difference in your life. 2, ask yourself why. Why is one of the most powerful questions ever asked. You need to ask yourself why you want to do a certain thing, or why not. It's important to focus on the clarity of purpose. If you know the why behind the things you do, you will find your purpose easily. As an example, consider the whys associated with your job. Maybe you're doing this job because it earns you a fine living. Maybe you're in this career because your parents pressured you, or you could be doing something just because all your friends were. If these reasons justify your whys, then you're not doing what your purpose in life is. When you ask yourself why, the answer should be fulfillment. And that's when you know you're face to face with your purpose. You need to ask yourself, why do I want to draw? And if the voice from inside you tells you that it's going to get meaning and fulfillment, then you're on the right path. This path will take you to your purpose. If the voice inside you tells you you're doing something out of fear or to fit in, then you need to let go immediately, for that is not your purpose. Once you figure out the why, follow Nike's motto. Just do it. Because the more you act, the more things become clearer. So instead of overthinking whether something will work or not, should you try it, or what if you don't make money at it, start taking small steps towards your calling. On the way, there will always be people around you who will have discouraging words for you. They'll tell you your career path is unrealistic and useless, or there are those who will forcefully make you believe that something else is your pursuit. You have to ignore all these voices and listen to yourself instead. Your true passion lies in only the things that you enjoy and love. Don't let others dictate this to you, or allow anyone to tell you that your passion is useless. Since it's something that defines you as a person, you shouldn't care about others' opinions and expectations. Just remember that you're doing it for yourself, because you owe it to yourself. 3, explore your options. Many people also get stuck because they try to find the one thing that they're meant to do. But in doing so, you may waste your time looking for the wrong thing. Actually, find something and then realize it's not for you, or just become disheartened when that something doesn't work out for you. But why limit yourself to this one mentality if you could do so much more? The idea that you have only one thing that's meant for you can limit you from fulfilling your potential. For instance, you may be a life coach who writes, travels, speaks, teaches, mentors, and designs at the same time. You may enjoy every aspect of this job, being equally good at all of them. You may feel equally passionate about being in any of these roles, which makes the whole experience of being a life coach more meaningful. So stop thinking that there's only one singular purpose for you when you could be doing so much more with passion. So don't hesitate to jump in and try new things. Stop trying to resist the unknown, for maybe that's where your calling is hiding. Do follow your passions to make your life more purposeful. When you live a passionate life, it becomes your purpose as well. In fact, you only need to look for a purpose when passion is lacking from your life. This makes you feel disconnected from life. So to fix this void, simply add in more passion. If you need help with that, look at the people who inspire you, for they can help you find your passion. For instance, if an artist or a designer inspires you, their field could be your passion too. Do you find yourself spending all your time on social media pages of fashion bloggers or designers? 4. Don't suppress your doubts. Suppressing your doubts is something that can stop you from finding your purpose. By definition, doubt is a feeling you get when you have to do something, but there's more than one course of action to choose from. You're not sure which option you should pick, so you give in to doubt. Although doubt always involves uncertainty about which decision will turn out best, it's not actually a bad thing to experience. If you let your doubts surface and come to terms with them, you're still making progress. But if you keep ignoring them, your life will become a mess. For example, do you have doubts about your current job? Do you feel like you could be much better at something else? Give this thought time and find what you're better at. Even when you do think you have found a purpose and you have doubt, let that come to the surface too. Otherwise, you'll be stuck with a false purpose. In finding your purpose, you'll have doubts, fears, and ambiguities. Always remember the final point and joy you get once you're there. With this thought in mind, you will definitely discover your purpose. Living purposefully is one of the most, if not the most, enjoyable experiences you can have in life. You know that when you live with a purpose, life just flows. On the way, you're able to carve your own way as you pass through the ups and downs, with your purpose always holding you strong. This is the life you want to live. This is the purpose you want to follow, and these are the benefits you want to enjoy. A purposeful life is a useful life, and the best way to lead a good life.